Alright, welcome back. We're going to try to wrap up this reloading series today by priming our brass, charging it with the powder, and seating the bullet. So at the end of the last video, we went ahead and we made it through these 50 pieces of brass. We trimmed them to size, we chamfered the inside and outside neck, and then we gave them a quick brush. So now we're going to use our Remington 9.5 large rifle primers. And I use the Lee hand primer is what I use to get this done. So I've already loaded the primers. I've got them flipped in the tray. I got everything turned around. We cycle it once to get a primer ready to go. And what I like to do on these is I'll insert the shell. I apply pressure and twist it slowly, and then go ahead and seat it fully. And there's what we end up with. Next one's ready to go. One more time. I insert the shell, apply a little pressure, twist it. That seems to line things up a little better. And then I go ahead and seat the primer fully. Now, this happens sometimes. That primer is not flush enough to come out. You can feel it right there. It's hitting. So I turn this a little bit. I gotta pop that top off to get my primers out. We got one that's flipped. Everything's as it should. So what I'll do is I'll put that back in there and I'll just give it another strong seat, and it comes right out. That happens from time to time. I'm gonna say maybe, I don't know, 1 in 20. I'll probably have 3 or 4 right in a row as we go. So once again, I load the primer in the barrel. A little bit of pressure, I twist that shell, and you can feel it seat all the way in there just right. Comes right out. So I like the hand primer. It gives me a feeling how the primers are going in there. I don't clean my primer pockets. I haven't seen any need to. They seem to seat just fine, and I haven't seen any difference in the performance of my hand loads with clean primer pockets versus the dirty. I think what we're seeing here is I'm holding this at an angle for the camera, so I'm having trouble with the second feed. So that also allows me to feel my primer pockets. I'm hoping to get several firings on this brass, and by several I mean maybe upwards of 20 firings on it. And what I plan to see is my primer pockets will get really loose and they'll no longer hold the primer like we want to. So again, I think what we got going on here is I'm kind of holding this at an odd angle for the camera, and I got a couple stacked up right there. I haven't had hardly any trouble. This is my second Lee hand primer I've had over several years of use. They've always worked real well. I think the last one of the cast pieces finally broke on it. Some of the new brass, there we go. We got another one that's just a little proud after it's been seated. So we pop that out, make sure we got all those primers out of the way. We'll double check, make sure they're aligned properly. Put that back in the top, give it a little twist, and just a little more seating pressure, and that's all it took. You guys can comment below, maybe that's a product of me not cleaning my primer pockets. Maybe that's what I'm seeing as we go through this. So let's do a couple more. I think you get the idea. It's pretty basic. We're feeling for the primers to be fully seated. We're making sure our primer pockets are not too loose. And that thing seems to be rolling along right now. All right, so we made pretty quick work of priming those cases. We got 50 of them primed. So I've got a couple options here as far as what I use to charge my powder. I have a RCBS Chargemaster Lite. I have the Redding powder measure with the BR3 competition, I believe. Adjustments on it where I can throw powder, and then I have my mechanical scale. I use my mechanical scale to verify either one of these because gravity doesn't lie. So right now we've got a charge on the mechanical scale. I don't know if you can see right here. What I've done is I put a camera in front of it so I get a little better resolution on that indicator, because I guess my eyes are getting a little low. So that's right on our specified charge of 42.3 grains. Off to the side, I've got my cases with a funnel in it. So I'll go ahead and pour that one on a case. Then I place my bucket back on the RCBS. It's in automatic mode. While it's doing that, I make sure all the powder has gone down into the case, and I move the funnel to the next empty case while we're waiting on that. And what I'll do is, like if I'm doing a group of 50 or 100, is I'll randomly weigh them on the mechanical scale to make sure that it's in that 0.1 grain plus or minus that it's advertised as. And if you go way back to the beginning, when we found out our powder charge, we are 42.3 with our node running from 42.2 to 42.4. So we do have a little room on each side of that specified powder charge. So we'll bring that over to the scale. So that one actually looks just about 0.1 light. So it's about 42.2. I'm not going to sweat the details because I know I'm within my node. I know that charge will fall within the rest of them. So I'm going to pour that into the empty case using my funnel. Put my bucket back on the scale. When it zeroes and starts, I'm going to move the funnel over. So when it comes to charging your rounds, a rhythm is very important. So you can avoid double charges, you can avoid mistakes. Anything doing with powder charging is very important. You need to keep close track of what you're doing. The possibility of a double charge on these 308 rounds is really negligible because you would overfill the case, but at the same time you're going to make a mess for yourself, so it's something worth watching. So our RCBS Chargemaster went off. It's telling us 42.3. We'll do a few more on the mechanical scale just so you get the idea of where we're at. So that one's actually coming up about 1.5 shy. So when I see something like that, I'll go ahead and throw it back in the bucket here. We'll let everything stable out and we'll start another charge. There, at one time, I was weighing every charge. I was trickling them up. That would have been an excellent one to use my trickler and go ahead and get it right where it needs to be. But I found out, since I'm in that node, that I don't have to be as picky. I can be 0.1 on either side, but sometimes this scale throws out of that. We did do a 30-minute warm-up, at least, and a calibration on our RCBS scale. So that one's maybe 0.5 grain shy of what we want. That's going to be within our spec. We're going to go ahead and charge that one. Shake it down. Replace our bucket. As that stables out, we're going to move our funnel over. All right, we got 10 cases charged with powder. It's always good to do a visual inspection of all those cases. Make sure they have the powder in them, that everything looks normal, nothing's overcharged, nothing's empty, you didn't skip one. That way you don't have any problems at the range. So for our seating evolution, we use a K&M arbor press with a L.E. Wilson Micrometer Seating Die. So this die is made up of a couple parts. You have this stem that has a coarse adjustment on it. Fits in there really snug. And then you can move this by thousandths of an inch to get that fine seating depth that you're looking for. So we we seat all our cartridges using a CBTO cartridge base to ogive of 2.126. So this die is already set up for that. That's all we've been using it for. So essentially what we do is we take a charged case, set it in this base, set the bullet, bring the die down over it, center it, and seat till we bottom out. There's one of our finished rounds. So I've switched to this Wilson inline cedar die, and I can tell you I think it's made the most difference with my reloading. Is I can feel the pressure as the bullet seats. I can kind of tell if there's any problems. And it just gives me a lot more feel than any of the press mounted seaters that I had. So these have a light seating pressure because we use that mandrel to run our ID of our necks back out. But I can tell you that I've taken these, I've pushed on the table with them, I haven't been able to move the projectile once it's seated. I've had several in the magazine, they don't move under recoil. So we have enough seating pressure to hold the bullet in place. And the right amount of seating pressure that gives us consistent release, which leads to our accuracy. So again, this is another one of those steps that looks pretty hands-on because we're using the Wilson equipment. But once you hit your rhythm, it goes pretty fast. And there we are. There's 10 of the 50 that are loaded. So as of right now, you've seen my entire process of loading for this heavy varmint 308 Winchester. I'll go ahead and I'll burn through these other 40 while I'm down here and I got everything fired up. We're going to have one more video, which is going to be a summary. I'm going to tie all this footage together. We're going to go beginning to end. I'll give you some finer points as we go through it. You're going to see a little bit of range time, and then you're going to see our target at the end. I really appreciate you guys hanging with me through this process. I've gotten some feedback that's enabled me to change a couple things, which I think lead to improvements. And that's the kind of interaction I'm looking for with this channel. I want this to be a reloading, a shooting, an outdoor adventure community, and I need your help with that. So stay tuned for our future projects. We've got more reloading, we've got shooting, hunting, fishing, hiking, camping. Big Wyoming adventures is what we're all about. Like, subscribe, share. God bless, and I'll see you on the other side.